Have you ever looked at your life and felt like everything was turning against you? The harder you try, the more things seem to fall apart. It's like all those plans, dreams, and beliefs you had just slipped through your fingers, leaving only emptiness. Sometimes it feels like God is silent, the heavens are closed, and no prayer seems to reach beyond the ceiling. And in those moments you start thinking, maybe my story is over, maybe there's no more new chapters for me. But let me tell you a truth that changes everything. If you're still breathing, it's because God is still writing. What many don't understand is that God's silence isn't his absence. Sometimes it's exactly when he is shaping you, preparing you. Great stories don't begin in the spotlight, they start behind the scenes. Joseph didn't start in the palace. He was thrown into a pit, betrayed by his own blood, sold as a slave, forgotten in prison. From the outside, it seemed like he had lost everything. But behind that pain, there was a greater purpose being woven by invisible hands. Because Joseph's story wasn't about the pain, it was about what God would do with it. And it's the same with you. How many times have you been wronged? How many times have you given everything and still been left aside? How many times have you helped everyone, only to find no one there when you needed help? It hurts. It hurts when you see others move forward, grow, conquer, while you feel stuck. You wake up tired, go to bed exhausted, and still feel like nothing changes. And that's when the dangerous thoughts start. Am I the problem? Has God forgotten me? But the truth is different. You're not stuck. You're being planted. Do you know what happens when a seed is planted in the ground? From the outside, it looks like it's gone. It's dark, silent, no sign of life. But inside, transformation has begun. The roots are growing, the structure is forming, and in the right time it will break through the ground and bloom. The same thing is happening with you. Faith begins to rise again, not when pain disappears, but when we decide what to do with it. You can let it destroy you, or you can use it as fuel to rise higher. Be like Joseph, be like a seed, be like Mandela. Don't let the current chapter define your entire story. The author of your life doesn't abandon unfinished books. If he is still writing, it means the best is yet to come. Have you ever noticed how pain can make you feel small? How it seeps into your days and nights, even turning silence into something too heavy to bear. There are people who seem fine on the outside, but on the inside, they are screaming. And that scream is so silent that no one hears it, no one sees it. Have you ever been there? Waking up without the will to get up, smiling out of politeness, but inside, you're falling apart, pretending everything is fine because you feel that if you tell the truth, no one will understand. Then you swallow your tears. You get used to the pain, and without realizing it, you begin to believe that it is part of who you are. But it's not. Pain is not your identity. It's just a journey. And God turns journeys into testimonies. In the Bible, Job is the living picture of this. He had everything: family, health, wealth, influence, and suddenly he lost it all. A righteous man, fearing God, going through a pain that made no sense. He cried, he questioned, he cried out, and for a time God seemed silent. Has this happened to you? Praying and hearing nothing, crying out, and the heavens feeling far away? But look what happened. Job didn't give up. Even without understanding, he stayed. And in the end, God restored him. God didn't just give back what he lost. He gave him double, more children, more years of life, more than he had before. But what God built inside Job during the pain was even more precious than what he gave him afterward. Maybe you're in the middle of that process right now. Maybe you've lost someone you loved. Maybe you lost a job, a marriage, the will to live. Maybe you've been betrayed, abandoned, forgotten. And deep down, you think no one feels what you feel, but they do. Many people do. It's just that no one has the courage to say it. We live in a world that pretends to be fine all the time. But you don't have to pretend. You can feel, you can cry, you can be weak before God, because He is strong for you. Do you know Lady Gaga? Today she's known worldwide, but before fame, she was rejected by many record labels. She heard no over and over again. She had anxiety attacks. She struggled with low self-esteem. She slept on the floor of small apartments, and many times she thought about giving up, but she didn't, because inside her there was something she didn't fully understand, but that kept pushing her forward. Today, millions identify with her pain, and your story can do the same. Not to make you famous, but to set you free. Free from guilt, free from shame, free from the weight of pretending. Do you realize how many people around you are waiting to hear something you've already lived? Have you thought that your story can save others? That your pain can be used to heal someone who's living what you've already lived? God doesn't waste suffering, He transforms it. And the question you need to ask yourself is, what am I going to do with all that I've lived? You can bury it and let it rot, or you can plant it and let it grow. And here's something I want to propose. For the next 15 days, every time you remember something that hurt you, write down what you've learned from it. It can be on a piece of paper, in a note app, wherever. And at the end of these 15 days, read everything you've written. You'll be surprised at how much you've grown, even without realizing it. You have learned to be stronger, more compassionate, more human, because pain is not the end. Pain is the birthplace of transformation. There is no pain that escapes God's gaze. There is no tear that He has not counted. He knows what you've been through and what you are going through right now, and He will use this not to punish you, but to lift you up, to raise you higher. One day you will look back and say, it was necessary. It hurt, but it shaped me. It wounded me, but it made me bloom. What crushes you today will tomorrow be the reason you lift your head and say, I'm glad I didn't give up. How many times have you felt that no one really cares? How many times have you entered a crowded room, but inside you felt completely alone? Not because it got easier, but because you were faithful. Because you believed, because you trusted, even in the dark. And that is what turns pain into testimony. It's as if everyone is too busy to notice what's going on inside you. As if there's an invisible wall between you and the world. You speak, but no one really listens. You cry inside, but no one answers. Have you ever felt surrounded by people and yet felt like no one really sees you? It's not weakness. It's loneliness, a loneliness that cannot be healed with company, but only with the presence of someone who truly sees you. David knew exactly how that felt. When the prophet Samuel came to anoint the new king, all the sons were called except David. He stayed in the field, watching the sheep. Ignored, forgotten, invisible. Can you imagine what it must feel like to be forgotten by your own father at such an important moment? Yet it was precisely in that field, alone, away from the eyes of men, that David was prepared by God. There, without an audience, he learned to be brave, to kill lions, to kill bears. There, without the spotlight, he became a man after God's own heart. Maybe today you are in that place too. A place where no one sees you. A place where no one values your efforts. A place where you give your all, but it feels like nothing comes back. Maybe you take care of everyone around you, but no one asks if you are okay. But listen to this. God's eyes are on you, even when no one else sees, even when you no longer recognize yourself. He sees you, and He is with you. Write this down and make it a habit, because the more you recognize God's footprints in your daily life, the more you will realize He has never abandoned you. The Bible says, though my father and mother forsake me, the Lord will receive me. This is not a beautiful metaphor. It is truth. It is a promise. Perhaps right now you feel like nobody cares about you, but I need to tell you this. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. God embraces you. God sees you, and He loves you with a love that never tires. So even if today your field seems empty, even if no one calls your name, even if the world does not see you, know that God has already sent someone to find you. And when he calls you, it means the time has come to step out of obscurity and live your purpose. Until then, remain steadfast, even if no one sees, because the whole heavens are looking at you. And God is preparing something that your eyes have not yet seen, but your heart will understand. And you will know that every tear, every quiet night, every day you felt alone, it was worth it. How many times have you given up because of fear of failure? How many times have you looked at a dream, a project, an idea in your heart and decided not to move forward because you felt incapable? And the thought comes as a cruel whisper. What if I try and fail? But what if it works? What if that step of faith is exactly what's needed to change the direction of your life? The problem is, most of the time, we wait to feel brave enough to act. But the truth is that courage only appears when we move. Peter didn't wait for the sea to calm down. He saw Jesus walking on the water, asked to come to him, and even with the strong wind, he stepped out of the boat. He was the only one among the disciples who did that. Yes, he sank, but he was the only one who experienced walking on water. Sometimes fear will still be there. It won't disappear, but you can choose not to let it control you. How many opportunities have you missed because you felt you weren't good enough? How many times have you compared yourself to others and thought you weren't enough, not talented enough, not good-looking enough, not experienced enough? And that cycle is cruel because the more you compare, the more you paralyze yourself. But let me tell you something you might need to hear today. You don't need to be perfect to start. You just need to be willing. Because God doesn't choose the most capable. He equips those who are willing to say yes. Moses thought he was incapable. He said he couldn't speak well and no one would listen to him. But God chose him anyway. Gideon saw himself as the least of his family, from an insignificant tribe. But with him, God defeated an entire army. Can you see the pattern? God always chooses the unlikely because he wants the world to see that it's not by human strength but by the power of faith. Stop waiting to feel ready. Honestly, we never truly feel ready. There will always be butterflies in your stomach, always that voice telling you it might not work. But this is where the choice comes in. You choose to listen to that voice, or you choose to listen to the voice of God who says, "Do not be afraid, for I am with you." Think about the times you thought you couldn't do it, and you did. The battles you've won, the doors that opened when everything seemed closed. That wasn't luck, that was faith, that was persistence, that was grace, and that same strength is still inside you. So here's my challenge for you. For 21 days, every time fear tries to stop you, write it down. Write down what the fear is, and then next to it, write a small action you can take despite the fear. Maybe it's sending a resume, recording a video, asking for help, making that call, or making that decision. Each day, you will see that fear loses power when you choose to act. And at the end of these 21 days, you'll look back and realize how many steps you've taken. Not because you stopped feeling fear, but because you learned how to walk with it by your side. You were created for great things. What God has for your life is much greater than what your eyes can see right now. But you will only discover it if you decide to step out of the boat. You don't need to know how to swim. Jesus is in the middle of the storm, waiting for you. Reach out your hand. Take the first step. And even if the wind blows hard, remember, it's better to sink walking in faith than to spend your life paralyzed by fear. The ground may seem invisible now, but when you trust and step on it, you'll realize that God has already prepared where your feet will land. Maybe right now, at this very moment, your eyes are filled with tears, feeling a pressure in your chest you can't even explain. Maybe it feels like someone has finally put into words what you've been trying to hide even from yourself. It's like everything you've heard here is a mirror of your soul. And it is, because this message didn't come by chance. It came to reach you, just you. Just you who is thinking about giving up. Just you who smiles on the outside, but bleeds on the inside. You who has lived days when getting out of bed felt like an act of war. You who has gotten used to saying, "I'm fine," while inside you're screaming for help. Do you know why you're still here? Because God hasn't given up on you. Even if the whole world has turned its back, even if your friends have disappeared, even if no one has seen your tears, God saw them. He was there that night when you cried in silence. He was there when you looked in the mirror and didn't recognize yourself. He was there when you whispered a prayer, asking for a sign. And maybe this message is that sign. You are not what they made you. You are not the mistakes you've made. You are not the losses you've suffered. You are someone carrying within you a story still being written by the Creator's hands. And this story, it doesn't end in pain. It begins there and it blossoms after it. You've already overcome so much. You've endured so much. You fought when no one knew you were battling inside. And that's proof that there's a strength in you that even you don't fully know. That strength comes from God. It comes from a love that doesn't leave you, even when you feel broken. It comes from a purpose that is still standing, even when you feel like it's all gone. So please, don't give up. Not today, not now, not after all that God still wants to do through your life. The world needs your story. Someone needs your testimony. Someone will be healed because you had the courage to keep going, because you chose to believe one more time. And even with eyes clouded by pain, you chose to take another step. And if all you can do today is cry, cry. But don't let go of God's hand. Because He never let go of your hand, you will smile again without pretending. You will look back and understand that everything was part of a bigger plan. You will live the time of harvest because you did not give up in the time of pain. You kept going when everything was telling you to stop. Now take a deep breath. Feel this invisible embrace. It is God. He loves you. He chose you. He is softly speaking to your heart. Son, daughter, I am here. I have always been here, and I will never leave. What you have suffered, what you have endured, was all part of a greater purpose. Now you will realize your strength and understand that this difficult journey has prepared you. At every step, when you felt alone, God was there, supporting you and giving you strength even when you felt no one cared. Now your time has come, the moment that was destined long ago. You will win, you will bear fruit, and you will see all the blessings God has prepared for you. What you planted, now it will grow. Every effort and every pain you experienced is now moving toward a new beginning. Your faith, your hope, and your struggle are now fully restored. You will see just how big the plans God has prepared for you truly are. Now your heart is completely filled with confidence because you know that God has never left you. He is always with you and He will never leave your side. After every pain and tear in your life, God is now giving you peace and blessings. You will receive what He has prepared for you. That is why you never gave up, and that is why now you will see what God has written for you. Your journey has only just begun.